Hello everyone, I'm Entom64.
And I'm THD.
And welcome to this year's HFC Halloween playthrough. This is 5 Days a Stranger, the first of 4 psychological horror adventure games by Ben Yahtzee Croshaw. Yes, the same guy from Zero Punctuation, that Let's Drown Out Let's Play series, and so on and so forth. This is, along with most other games we've done in 2015, a game that I've been wanting to cover for a long time, but unfortunately, Helldragon was too much of a wuss, and I had to literally tie him to a chair in order to get him to co-commentate with me on this.
Little does he realize I'm actually digging this right now. It feels pretty comfortable.
Wow, the spooks and the scares have started already.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing. 5 Days a Stranger. Before FNAF, there was FDAZ. And, I only really know about this game when Deceased Crab played this for his channel, like you were telling me about that.
Yeah.
And I watched it for a little bit because beforehand I had watched his playthrough of Trilby the Art of Theft, which is an unrelated game where Trilby, the main character here, is in like some 2D stealth platformer adventure kind of thing. I watched a little bit of it and then I immediately shut it off. I'm not fucking good at horror. I don't like getting scared. It's not fun for me. Fortunately, it is the middle of the day right now as we do this, so I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, the sun is just setting here in Limeyland, and the game itself is set in Limeyland, which I guess lended like a certain appeal to the game. You know me, I'm very egocentric like that. The Layton game's another favourite of mine.
I want to go to Limeyland. Can we go there for vacation?
It'd be quite grey and boring, I assure you.
Sounds like one of those terrible, cheap theme parks that your mom takes you to when she doesn't have money for anything better.
This is Trilby. We'll be playing as him for basically the whole game. I say that like there's alternate secret characters, but whatever. He could be Yahtzee's avatar. For the sake of argument, let's just say he's not that egotistical. How'd you like that, Helldragon? Solicitor instead of lawyer.
I also love how another recurring thing I noticed about the Trilby games, I have to admit, is that Trilby kind of fucking sucks as a thief. Like, you watched Trilby the Art of Theft, right?
Uh-huh.
There was like one point where he's getting away from eyes, and then he fucking trips like a clown, and then his mask and his hat magically falls off, and somebody gets a photo of him. I'm sitting there going, this is some fucking Tex Avery cartoon shit. And now he's stuck in the mansion. He can't even get out of the fucking window. He just opened up, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
Hopefully that was just like a faulty window, you know, it's in need of some oiling, because I don't fancy the idea of being stuck in a house. You know, there may be like 1 or 2 other people bopping about, but atmosphere tends to destroy me in those instances.
Personally, I'm hoping this is more like a Resident Evil kind of mansion where it's like, oh, there are zombie dogs outside, you can't go. Okay, that's fine. And not like some fucking psychological stand-powered, supernatural-powered kind of magic house. Oh, it's one of those, isn't it? Yeah.
I've sighed too much, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm already tied up, so I'm not going nowhere, so we might as well just enjoy the ride.
The lion's dead. Oh yeah, it's that type of game.
That just makes me feel so much better, and I'm so glad we're doing this with Trilby, of all people, who decided instead of being a warrior as his class, he decided to be a thief, and we all know how much they suck at fighting.
Right, let's have a look at the newspaper. Clarence Defoe, I'm not going to read all of this, but I'll paraphrase that, I guess. Clarence Defoe found dead, along with his wife. Very sad, very sad. Defoe himself hung himself in the front garden via a tree. His wife was found stabbed to death in the mansion. Charming.
Oh, well, that's very nice. And it's always one of those situations, you know? It's not like you're trapped in a mansion and it's just full of candy and gumdrops, unless, of course, you're doing another horror game where that happens. Although already I'm starting to get vibes of various Sierra adventure games I have played and watched that have to do with mansions. Like, there's one I played with is Hugo, a very early Sierra adventure game. We have to go inside a mansion to rescue your girlfriend, and everything wants you dead. Then there's Laura Bow at The Colonel's Bequest, which I watched, where you're staying in a mansion throughout the night with a bunch of people who are killed off one by one, and of course somebody else wants you dead. So you'll notice that tends to happen a lot in mansions as a theme, so never buy one of those, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's like a big place and there could be danger around every corner, so it's like being on like a cursed mountain or a spooky forest. It's just one of those instinctively scary locations.
And even in Limey Land, like, everything's black and white. Look at the TV there.
I half expect teletext to pop up. That'll mean nothing to you, but everything to our UK viewers, I imagine.
Is that like closed captioning in a way?
Could you ever press a button and it would pop up like a bunch of like news, horoscopes, etc.?
No, that tends to be more of a feature for modern cable TVs, I noticed.
Well, I guess as Brits we're ahead of the curve. BBC News, I love that.
You're ahead of the curve, but the frame rate on your TVs was slightly less than ours, so you're kind of in the middle now.
Preaching to the choir there, mate. I'm trying to record stuff for a 2016 playthrough at the time we're recording this commentary, and oh boy, 480i is kicking me in the arse. Oh boy, here we go.
You didn't invite a jock to this playthrough, come on.
This is England, mate. Chav would be more appropriate, I think.
Chav? I've never known what a chav is, and I'm not sure if I want to know.
Brown text on a brown background. Bold choice there, Yahtzee. I would definitely recommend full screening this particular playthrough, because try it as I might, I put a little bit of a sharpening preset on, it will still swallow it up, will YouTube, quality-wise.
Yeah, I can only download these in standard quality, so I've got it like full screen right here. But at the same time, I like the shitty pixelization of it. Like, it brings that charm that you get from old adventure games.
I actually got into a little bit of a kerfuffle with someone who said they much preferred the special edition of The Secret of Monkey Island to the old, like, pixelization version. Which one would you say you prefer? I can probably guess.
Yeah, it's still going to be the old version. The voices are a welcome addition to that version that you played, but it's just, I guess it's nostalgia. I like the charm. I like the limitations that were placed on it at the time. I've said this before, but it's still my favorite.
Okay. Philip Harty. We'll be seeing a lot of this guy. One could say he has an ulterior motive, but I'm not going to give away what that is just yet.
God, it's not like I'm not completely suspecting him already. You might as well just rub it in.
I'm feeling very anxious about that idol on the right-hand side of the room.
I'm anxious about most of this right now. I'm pretty sure that moose is going to jump out of the wall and make noises at us. Oh god, a moose.
Like, ooga booga, are you fucking serious?
Well, if everybody just put on the animal masks that are on the wall, this could turn into the adventure game version of Hotline Miami in like a flash.
Okay, so we got Jim, he's the youngest. We got Phil. I don't know if that was Jim who ran away from us on, like, the first floor, the landing and whatnot, but I guess we'll see soon enough.
Well, I guess I'd be scared, too, if you can't get out of the house, but some people keep coming in, I'd start freaking the fuck out myself.
I've got a journalist. AJ. That was probably the guy we saw.
Now I'm just remembering yet another game where you're stuck inside a mansion, you're solving puzzles, and it's an adventure game. The Seventh Guest, or was it the 13th Hour? Both of them are probably the same.
I was going to say Maniac Mansion myself.
Maniac Mansion is yet... at least Maniac Mansion had the excuse that it was partially a comedy in some aspects. It was more like a cheesy horror film in that sense, and that's fine,
This whole first part is essentially going to be set up, and then the story really starts to kick off from part 2 onwards. But please, keep watching. It's the only way we can keep the channel running.
Man, that fire sure is excited. I'm really thrilled to be in this mansion.
Finally, people to watch me undulate.
Undulate? Oh, we're busting out the big words today, aren't we?
Standard point-and-click controls for this game. Everything's done via the mouse, except for when you're, saving the game. Then you can, tippity-type in a crazy name. Not going to be doing that for this one. Secret of Monkey Island, that lends itself more to comedy. I wanted to kind of play it straight for Das.
Well, I guess it makes sense that as an adventure game protagonist, Trilby the Thief would be going around stealing everything that isn't nailed down in order to solve puzzles.
5 Days a Stranger is a very quiet game. I would have said atmospheric, but it goes beyond, ambience. I mean, yeah, you'll hear some sound effects here and there, and the music will kick up every now and then, but for the most part, it's just plain silence. And kudos to Yahtzee, he kind of tried to alleviate this problem in later games, but this one, it went straight for, silence as a means of scaring the audience, I guess.
I think, based on what little I had watched this ahead of time, before we did this, the use of silence to kind of establish the mood is pretty effective. One thing I do believe about horror is that, it should be subtle and less is more in that context. Fear doesn't come directly from the jump scare, it comes from the build-up to the jump scare, and that kind of shit I think is more effective in terms of a horror game.
It's like when people criticize, Five Nights at Freddy's and so on. Yeah, the jump scares are cheap, but it's the lead-up to that gets your heart racing.
That's true. I mean, you see like those fuckers' eyes in the doors. I'm like, fucking nope, I'm done. No, thank you.
Don't expect to see that on HFC ever. I literally do not have the heart to record it. So it seems like these people, they have, we'll talk to them and find this out later, but they have like different and varied reasons for entering the mansion. Obviously, sure, before it was just going to be an easy heist. Phil will learn what he wants later on. Yvette or Yvonne here, something beginning with Y. I only just like briefly caught her name. She's a journalist for the BBC, so I guess she was just investigating the place and just got caught up in events.
Oh, sound effects all of a sudden. I just turned it up a little and heard thud, thud, thud.
Nothing creeps me out more than, yeah, indeed, Trilby, very strange. Just the sound of like creaking floorboards and just like footsteps when there's no one else in the house.
The only other... now I'm just recalling all of the mansion games where you do scary shit in it. You ever play Splatterhouse?
Yes, actually, very briefly.
Which one? The first one or like the third one?
The very first one.
Oh god, the third one. Oh, that shit was fucked up, man. And you were on a time limit, and that nothing scares me more, in all honesty.
Keep an eye out on that portrait. It may undergo some changes over the course of the game.
Okay, I'm really not feeling good about this, to be honest with you. Like I said, I do not like being scared. It's not fun.
Kind of odd that Clarence died sort of recently, yet the fridge isn't stocked at all. Oh, I see a stick. I'm going to pick it up.
Yes, this will be the first of many heists for Trilby, the Master Thief.
No, we don't want to click on Trilby. It's not that type of game. How very British.
I wonder, like, even when he's not doing supernatural stuff, when Trilby steals shit, does he always make, like, a little pun to himself? Like, he picks up an umbrella, and I'm trying to think of an umbrella pun, but I don't have one at the moment, so why don't you just pretend I did?
I'll keep this for a rainy day.
There you go. See, that actually works out better.
In order to get Jim to come down from the tree, you need to click on the tree and then talk to it.
Hello, tree. Could you let Jim down? I'd really, really appreciate it. I'll give you your stick back.
Oh, Bert, you're the only one who understands me. So yeah, even escaping over the back wall is just out of the question. There's just like a massive ravine. I mean, if you wanted to kill yourself, you could get out that way, but I imagine like a giant arm with a hand on the end will come out of the wall and just drag you back in, such is the malice of Defoe Manor.
That sounds more like Monty Python than a malicious manner. Although it'd be funny, like, I guess they're just pretty much setting up, like, no matter what you do, you can't escape. Oh, we can go out this side, but there's a fucking energy vortex over here. Watch out.
I tried to do a series of puns, but I kind of wimped out at the last second.
Nicely done.
I was trying to make it, like, phonetically appropriate. God, I love stock sound effects.
It always makes me feel good when I hear the Doom door opening sound effect.
Did you hear that? The creaking.
Oh god.
It's gonna start.
I don't like this shit. I really don't.
Well, I'm here with you, so stop being a wuss.
Yeah, this whole playthrough is just me gonna be being a total pussy about this kind of stuff.
Now we're going to lead into what is essentially a 10-minute interrogation scene where we talk to Jim, Phil, and I keep forgetting whether it's Yvonne or Yvette, I'm sorry.
The third one, that's his name.
Journalism woman.
Journalism woman, that's not especially a great superpower. But then again, Clark Kent could technically be called journalism man.
True. I've got some notes here. I didn't want to make it as, like, trivia heavy as with Mega Man, which we kind of need to do in order to just keep that playthrough flowing along, but we tried with notes on this before and I stumbled, so I'm going to keep it to a minimum now. A couple of topics we can discuss here. Your history with adventure games as a whole. You've mentioned, like, horror ones, but I want to know, like, how did you get into the genre to begin with?
Well, I'd have to say, I may have mentioned this already, but I mostly got into adventure games from stuff like, Sierra games. Space Quest in particular was really kind of my entry into the genre. That's why I'm so fond of 3. I'm very fond of 5, which we should really get around to doing an actual playthrough of sometime. Mm-hmm. I haven't played a lot of LucasArts stuff, but I do appreciate the design conventions that we mentioned in Monkey Island about, not punishing the player for exploring, making it more of a comedy instead of a goddamn nerve-wracking experience like we're doing right now.
More of an adventure, really, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, those have been my main exposures. I've liked watching adventure games mostly. I really like watching the Sam and Max ones because those tend to be pretty good, and I like Sam and Max's characters, so I really should step up and play some of them sometime. Maybe we'll do Hit the Road down the line. I don't know.
You have Big Brother over there, don't you?
Oh yeah. That show that I vaguely recall that was on like years ago, and it's still going surprisingly.
Yeah, that game show where they just chuck a bunch of different people in the house with, like, different personalities, and they call it a social experiment. But I think after so many years, the experiment portion has kind of died off by now.
Wasn't that the pinnacle of TV to create TV that pretty much just films and scripts itself, and you don't really have to do anything?
Oh, well, they influence it slightly, but I digress. My history with adventure games. Casting my mind back as far as it will go, two come to mind. The first of which I've told you about before, and is quite appropriate given what we're playing here, is called I think it's Pianowski's Haunted House.
Oh yeah, and you actually have the only playthrough of that on YouTube, I believe.
Indeed, it's on either Hellfire or the now defunct HF playthroughs. But it's based on like this old, it's either like a flip book or just like a children's book. And you're locked in a mansion and you have to find the way to get out of the mansion. So it's very appropriate, I guess. And the other one, not related to horror at all, although there's one or two spooky moments in it, is Virtual Springfield.
Virtual Springfield. Oh yeah, that's that. I don't know if you can still get that. I guess you'd have to find that like through eBay, but that's like, I think maybe considered the closest representation of Springfield to date. From The Simpsons.
It was so fun just to go around, find all the Easter eggs, find all the secret bits. I think that's kind of what kicked off my love of adventure games. I usually play with an FAQ at my side because I am le shitty casual gamer, but I just enjoy them, the ambience, the atmosphere, the personalities, the puzzle design. Even like the convoluted stuff, like you gotta use a thing on a thing to get a thing to find a thing. It has its own like charm, I think.
These days, you'll notice that a lot of adventure games are tending towards more, like what Telltale is doing. They're focusing a lot on branching narrative paths, and I can definitely see the value in that. Like, from what I've watched of like The Wolf Among Us, that definitely seems interesting. But I'm always trying to figure out how you can make adventure games a more relevant, like the old style, but kind of get rid of some of the stuff that hold it down. I'm thinking more like if you use like a system where it's like Metroid, you pick up like one item, you can use it multiple places, and you're kind of branching out everywhere. I think that would really kind of help alleviate the whole stick banana on fork kind of thing.
Say what you will about David Cage's games, but you could even call them like modern day adventure games. Because you do a thing and you can die just instantly.
That's true. What would you say is probably the best David Cage game, actually?
Heavy Rain, without a doubt.
Yeah, I have a feeling it would be Heavy Rain, because it really did seem like an interesting idea when it was described, and maybe it's not the blockbuster we all thought it was going to be, but it definitely has some interesting ideas, and I'm surprised nobody has really taken advantage of since.
Well, it was the only one of like the Sadness trilogy, that's Indigo Prophecy / Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain, and Beyond Two Souls, that didn't have any supernatural elements. It did originally, but I guess they took it out at the last second, and it's such a better game for it. But I think we've rambled about adventure games enough. My other thing, before we go back to our cast of characters here, is aversion to horror, the best usage you found, and the worst usage.
Well, I'm kind of averse to horror to begin with. Like I said, I don't really have a lot to say about this because I don't like getting scared, but as I mentioned before, probably the best uses is less jump scares and more focus on building that atmosphere, that dread, that build-up is probably the best way to do it. I'd have to say the worst examples of horror I've ever seen is probably Resident Evil, maybe, the earlier ones? I don't know. I guess back then they were scarier, but now they're admittedly a little tame, but, like I said, it is kind of hard to take that seriously when a lot of horror, I think, does also depend on the power that you have. Like, take like earlier Dead Space games where you had some power but not enough for certain things, and then compare it to like Dead Space 3 where you're just blowing the shit out of those things and it's not really scary at all.
Yeah.
I just noticed that painting in the background has a guy standing there all alone. I have no idea what that means and I really don't want to.
Oof, yeah. My aversion to horror, again, just comes from my admittedly weak ticker. It's not weak in like the physical sense, but does psychological stuff kind of just stick with me.
Oh yeah, so that's exactly why you decided to play this for the channel, to give us all fucking nightmares, huh?
It's not that scary of a game, mate. The other games are way worse.
Oh, good. I'm not sitting in for those. Fuck you.
Oh, yes, you maybe will
Like
be.
fucking hell. You can't make me. You know that.
I'm gonna need more rope. Alright, so we have Jim, who came to the mansion essentially based on a dare. You know how kids are. We have Philip, who is an artifact hunter, or a treasure hunter, if you will. And I guess he came here in a manner not too dissimilar from Trilby to look for said treasure, although Trilby is much more of a gentleman, feels very rough around the edges. And then we have journalism woman, Yvette/Yvonne, and I really wish her name would pop up so I can confirm this again. She came here to do like a piece.
And Trilby is just here to steal shit, pretty much, so, and ruin everyone's good time.
I completely forget what AJ is here for, actually.
Well, maybe we'll find out again some more. Well, her name is Miss Taylor. There you go. She's got like really tiny arms due to the sprite work. I also like how it kind of apes how some of the sprites have looked in like LucasArts adventure games with the big old flappy lips that look like they're talking. It's just that little thing I like.
I think this was like made in something akin to Game Maker. Like, there's a lot of stock use of music and like assets and such. I believe it actually won awards, did for DAS. I don't have the info on hand, so I guess you'll have to go look it up. The scariest thing of all, learning.
I don't know about you, but personally that's where I draw the line among most things.
Okay, she was here to do a documentary. That's sort of similar to what I was saying before.
Documentary woman, Miss Taylor. Alright, when you're in a really serious interrogation situation, please do not sit in the rocking chair. It does not look distinguished at all.
He's a kid, mate. He's like 14 or 15 years old.
That doesn't mean shit. He's old enough to sit in a normal chair like the rest of us.
But I was about to say Yahtzee there. Mr. Trilby, I like it when it goes back and forth.
You notice that the guy, the chav, is that what you call him? He's taking up like most of the fucking space with his hands.
Oh, he's manspreading. What an asshole. What did happen to the camera crew? It seems odd that she was the only one to get in.
Oh, they're off to film another first-person horror movie, I'm afraid.
It does seem like the house is only letting one person in at a time, which is very ominous.
It's got a loading screen it has to go through. Not everyone can make it. Sweet Home, there's another mansion-based game, actually the predecessor to Resident Evil, where it's based on a movie, you have like 5 people to go through the mansion. Surprisingly, you fight enemies in turn-based RPG combat, which is weird. Might as well think of all the other mansion-based horror games while we're here.
The house just seems like sort of a honeypot, if you will. It's drawing people to it, and schmucks like Phil, and again to a certain extent, I keep wanting to say Yahtzee, Trilby, are just getting brought in by the allure of, like, treasure or artifacts.
It's probably buried on some sort of burial ground full of treasure anyway. I mean, that's the kind of shit that usually happens.
Okay, Simone. It wasn't Yvette. It wasn't Yvonne. I don't know where the fuck I was getting those two names from.
Oh yeah, some magic prankster who can lock all the fucking doors and windows, okay.
I just imagine, like, Scissor Man, just sneaking around in the background, locking doors.
Clock Tower is scary too.
I keep watching the JonTron review over and over, because it is one of the funniest things I've ever watched online.
I have to admit, his Clock Tower review is actually pretty good. Like, when I can get past the scary shit, it's really funny.
Oh, I hope he does more Halloween stuff this year.
Well, we'll see. I don't know, maybe Starcade will interfere with that. Who knows? Gosh, that end of the part is almost coming.
Oh, yes it is. Look, Phil's getting, like, agitated. Yeah, I'm standing right over here.
In my chair. Just don't mind old grandma.
God damn it, Jim, you're not that old. I'm 15 and sprightly. Okay, so I think you can probably guess what the next part of the playthrough is going to be. We found all the people, but we're a little bit tired, so we're going to go take a nap, and then we'll go hunt down AJ. Are you feeling for that so far, Helldragon?
Well, I'm ready for the shit that might drop.
You'd better be. It's about to get a whole lot more spooky. See you all next time.